This trash mask guy must know where Freeze is hiding. But who is he?
Roman Sionis, a crime boss, and the owner of Sionis Industries. A rather nasty fella, if you ask me.
It's so cool having someone in the chair.
Let's go pay Black Mask a visit.
Warning all units. Another incident in Tricorner. Citizen is in danger and surrounded. Over.
You got this, right?
Wait, did I forget anything?
Black Mask. We know you've been helping Victor Freeze. And we have questions.
Well, well, well. I knew one of you do-gooder dorks would pay me a visit eventually. So I made sure I was prepared. This security system is state-of-the-art. If you think you're getting in here, you got another thing coming.
You can't hide in there forever. Let's shut this security system down.
Hard to hack something that won't turn on. The terminal needs power. Is there a battery we can use?
Did they seriously just shut down a terminal? This is supposed to be bad-proof.
We can't do anything with that camera in the way.
That all you got?
Good going. I especially liked the part where we won.
Alright, so... Bat-proof, they said rat-proof. Which apparently means you can't chew through the wires.
Vigilantes versus villains.
I don't like their odds.
So long as we're here for each other, it'll be okay.
Oh, whoa. Oh, what's got you?
Where there's fire, there's fire. Let's find what's causing those flames. There's a gas pipe here. We should see where it goes. This valve must be what controls the gas. The fire's gone. Now for that security terminal.
That's it. I'm getting out of here. Someone pass me my keys.
See ya, Batdweebs! It's getaway time! Oh no.
Stop! Classic! Get out, Sionis!
This is a nice car. Or was.
Okay, let's talk.
I don't have time for you, Black Mask. I'll cut to the chase. What does the name Victor Freeze mean to you?
Mr. Freeze? He means good business. Why?
I'm asking the questions. What have you sold him, and why does he want it?
Well, let's just say that is one almighty ice rink he's planning to build. He's cleaned me out.
He's gonna freeze all of Gotham. Where is he?
I don't know. Have you tried the frozen food aisle? Yeah, I hear he likes a popsicle. The blueberry ones.
I will drag you around every single dive in this dirty town. Let's see if any of your goons know his whereabouts.
Okay. The observatory. Better get your skates on. You'll need 'em.
Okay, we do need to move fast. Don't worry, we'll get the rest of the solution.
Hey!
But right now, all of Gotham needs saving.
Who knows what Freeze is now capable of?
Incoming crime. Make your way to Gotham Village. Reports of an attempted break-in. Or somebody lost the keys. Over.
I'm ready for you. Look out, Batgirl. Bad guys.
Yeah, kinda hard to miss him.
is so cool! Get ready, Gotham! You are about to experience what it is to have a cold heart like mine!
Shut up! I'm trying to sleep!
You're welcome.
You're not even that cool!
I could be wrong, but I'm guessing that's not a giant bubble blower.
No, we do need to take that out. As well as Victor. Sorry, Mr. Freeze. You ready for this?
You better believe it.
Nice. Freeze! Freeze! Game's up.
Oh, nice to see you. But on the contrary, you are just in time to witness the dawn of a new ice age!
Remember, his freeze ray is extremely dangerous.
Don't worry! We got this! I think.
They don't do heights. Unlimited snow cones for all of Gotham. Get back! I will have you all chilled to perfection. My associates are eager to say hi. Give our guests an ice cool welcome. Get off me! I won't stop until everything is covered in ice. Hey, personal space. You should have brought a coat. It's game over! Meet my own sidekicks! Time for you to cool down!
Gotcha!
Looks like you're in for a cold night.
Batman, no!
I think it's time to put you on ice.
Mind if I crash the party?
Huh?
Hey there. The name's Nightwing.
Machine washable?
Of course.
This is different.
Guessing his crew won't stay away for long. We need to work fast to disable that monstrosity.
Already scoped it.
Can you disable the energy shield so I can hack into its computer?
Yeah, just need some kind of tech to repurpose.
Hey, watch it! Flashes out of you!
Ha! That do ya?
Perfect.
Alright, if I'm gonna work my magic, that energy shield's gotta go.
We gotta shut this thing down. Let's get building.
Just what I was thinking! We can use this generator to overload the shields.
Right. All that's left is to link them together. Luckily, I've got just the thing.
This is very uncomfortable.
Shields down, as requested.
Thanks, I'll take it from here.
Hey, I'm better at finding stuff than I thought. That freeze ray will need some hacking. Ow.
Someone get me down from here! Ah!
The freeze
Freeze Ray could use that Batgirl touch.
I'm in! Looks like it can't be shut down remotely.
You can lower it so I can climb up and shut it down manually?
I'm like...
Nice work. Now I can get climbing. Almost there. Time to crank it up.
You will regret doing that. But there's nothing I cannot fix. Nothing I cannot do. I am Mr. Freeze. But yes, very irritating. Huh? Movie time, goodie. Is it an action title? My favorite.
Ah!
No. It ain't party time till Gotham's had the cold shoulder.
Ah!
Now we're talking. It's kick butt time. Don't leave me hanging.
Whoa!
Oh,
Are you jealous of my new winter gear? Feeling a bit left out in the cold, huh?
Okay, that thing is pretty big.
You can say that again.
Cower before my new ice machine. Everything is better on ice.
Wait a second. I could use those icicles.
I've overheated. Ow! Stop! These muscles weren't built for such treatment.
Any chance you can reschedule your meetings?
Loki is about to become a year-round sport. Feel the cold. Force reboot. No! Muscle! My beautiful muscle!
so bad.
Good go.
You people are really starting to annoy me.
Thanks for your help, but, I could have handled it. You did good.
So, you got what you need to thaw them all out?
Sure have. That's all we need.
Great. Let's not keep your father waiting. Come on. No time to waste.
I'll give Alfred a call. He knows the drill.
Woohoo! Yeah!
I'm sorry it took so long, Commissioner. It's good to see you out of that thing.
Yeah, and Mr. Freeze is now where he belongs. In the cooler.
Oh, it's fine, Batman. Barbara's always telling me I need some time off. Maybe a hotel with a pool next time, though, huh?
Well, it's good to know you'll be looked after. I'm sure Barbara will do a great job. And it's probably best to stay off the streets. Right now, Gotham is no place for a young lady.
Oh, I'm fine. You run along, Barbara. But first, let's see about that coffee.
Not for me.
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
No, Dad, you can't.
Just a bit stiff, that's all. Huh. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Dad, come and sit down. It's fine. You guys head off. Dad clearly needs some help here. It's fine, honestly.
I could actually use a coffee. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
See you later, young lady. You ready to go on patrol?
Have you thought about patrolling Bloodhaven? I'm sure they'd appreciate the help.
Ouch. We're here already? If you need directions, let me know.
Calling all units. Another incident in Tricorner. Seems like some bad guys are having themselves a little hold-up. Over.
And no one will stand between me and my customer.
Come in, anyone on patrol. Tricorner has seen some criminal activity. Bad guys turning the town to total trash. Over.
It's time to get to the root of the problem. Wait till Alfred hears about this one.
Whoa! You're really going hard on those plants! It's... Kite Man, by the way, you're super awesome #1 reformed inmate. I've really learned how to get in touch with my soft side. So here's something from me to you. Love you! Bye-bye.
My day just got...
Nice driving.
Incoming crime alert. Anyone available, head to Old Gotham North. Suspects being really mean to someone in progress. Over.
Sure find some interesting stuff in this line of work.
You have a big challenge ahead of you. Let's see how you do.
At least my plants will enjoy the rain.
Attention all officers. Old Gotham West is in danger. Looks like a thief's trying to take something that isn't theirs. Over.
remember to limber up.
This looks interesting. Time to do the really hard part.
Why does he get to have the key card? I can keep it safe too.
It's the guy who forgot his keys in the washer.
Isn't having 2 key cards kind of excessive?
Yeah, I don't understand rich people either.
Wonder why the boss lets the guards keep the second key card.
Because some of us can be trusted.
Warning all units. Another disturbance in Old Gotham North. Bad guys driving recklessly in progress. Over.
There! Simple. Totally.
Wings. With a swift motion, it dodged all of the arrows and continued its attack, even faster than Jake had anticipated. Less than a second after he had fired the arrow, the Alpha Mantis was before him, its scythe cleaving down. Jake took a step forward as he saw the mushroom be split in two and penetrate his spear. His step had naturally been the skilled one-step mile and had taken him down to the ground, close to where the Mantis had been initially. Turning around quickly, he managed to fire off another arrow before the clearly confused insect managed to locate it. He hit it right in its midsection, saw the arrow sink in deeply as it shrieked in pain. He'd been pretty sure Mantises couldn't shriek before. His attack had done little more than alert to his position. With its more than 6 meter tall body, it flew towards him once more, its speed still very impressive. Firing off yet another arrow, he hit it another time before it reached him. And once more he dodged it, this time without even using a skill. Its attacks were predictable and straightforward. Its only advantage was in speed. Clearly, its agility and maybe even strength were far above his own. He didn't doubt that if he got hit by its blades, he would lose an arm or a leg. He just didn't feel like it would ever hit him. Their dance kept going for a few minutes, with Jake dodging and the Mantis frantically trying to cut him to pieces. Eventually, Jake began to get bored, as the insect hadn't done jack shit to adapt. The only change was its accumulating wounds. He looked for him to have maybe some kind of new skill or hidden ability, but nothing. It was just slowly fighting a battle that clearly couldn't win, with no thought of any combat. It was just disappointing. With a sigh, Jake decided to end it. One step mile. He appeared tens of meters behind the Mantis as he turned around, an arrow already knocked. The Mantis was once more confused, having clearly learned nothing from earlier. gaze of the apex hunter. Then its body froze and finally infused power shot. It launched its head to an arrow that soared through the fire with unstoppable power. Miranda sat in the chair, staring out at the serene pond. She saw the small eels swimming without a care in the world as the thoughts jumped around in her head. She felt like there was a vast difference between her and a young, formerly masked man, not just in power, but mentality and understanding. He had known so much of the system, like he had lived in environment with the others, or actually been able to learn from someone who had.
Thanks for the
His
list.
experiences of the tutorial were so much more than hers. The most significant difference, however, was the disparity in mindset between the two.
This is
Before the
dispatch.
system,
Activity in
she
Newtown.
interacted and worked with many
Reports
different
of
types of
someone
employees.
snatching and grabbing.
Over time, she had begun to classify them mentally into boxes. One for those you need to watch out for, and those you don't. The first group was also split into many different types. Troublemakers, the lazy, the competent. Yet she found was one element in another category, the truly driven. Many workers just wanted to work for their monthly paycheck. They worked to live, to get the job done, and go home. The driven wanted more than that. They wanted to advance, they wanted to improve. They became restless if their ambitions weren't realized. In her retrospection, she had come to see that she and his kids were the first types of people. Not in the job for the tutorial, but in the tutorial itself. After working for live, she had done the tutorial simply to survive. Nearly everyone had. Of course, she had worked hard in her own. She then began to work their lives and try and lead some of the other survivors, but she couldn't honestly say that she hadn't done it for the sake of
You want to
survival.
test me, huh?
Making herself useful by gaining levels and high in the to try.
I tried going easy on him. I really did.
Real struggle. Fate ended. Returned to the most steady as quickly as possible. Yet, what if she had remained within the trial? Forced from the leading? What if she'd gone beyond where they simply guarded themselves during the trial? That was the first type of person, the type who just working forward to survive one day at a time. The other type is different. You needed to look out for them, focusing on both the good and the bad. They would be the employee that could take the company to the next level, have a new innovative idea or strategic insight that could lead to practical change. They could be the best type of employee imaginable. At the same time, they could be the worst type. The one who would advance by any means necessary, willing to stomp on anyone in their way on their path of advancement.
This is dispatch.
Every other person
Activity
was
in
merely
Newtown.
a tool to help them. Without a doubt,
Suspect sighted
the
in
next man was the
a
ambitious
real
and driven.
Nazarene. Over.
If he had been in their tutorial, he wouldn't have stayed in the trial area. He would have gone beyond it. She heard how he spoke, as if it was natural to hunt down whatever monsters lurked in the most dangerous corners of his tutorial. He had gone above and beyond, come out of the tutorial more powerful than she thought. So, what did he do then? He kept working. He kept grinding. Somehow, he had managed to find the time he was out to help his son. She respected him, but at the same time, she was terrified of how foreign he felt. She concluded he was the second type of person, ambitious and driven. Was he the archetype that would bring himself up, and by doing so uplift everyone around him? Or the one who left others in his wake, squashed beneath him? She worried because this wasn't just a corporate job they were talking about. It wasn't just a lost bonus or a missed promotion. It wasn't a master taking credit for what he didn't do or cheating on an evaluation. It was the difference between letting others live and outright killing them. The difference between the ones killing the people they entered the trials with and those who worked together. Miranda had been incredibly sure that the masked man was the good kind for the majority of their conversation. She had been so sure until the end. Now she wasn't so confident. Was he a monster? A savior? Perhaps neither.
This is from one of our wanted posters.
Her face
Let's
easily
see if we
reflected
can
by the
find the
phone.
rest of it.
Her slightly haggard look was making her a bit embarrassed. Her orange hair curled up from her since leaving the tutorial. She had to say so herself. She looked quite good usually, but now she could easily be feed for the illness. At least her skin was still as healthy as before. She She found it weird how the system affected appearance through the evolutions. The consensus had been that the change was according to the one evolving under his eyes. If you had flaws or blemishes you considered faults, the system would add. It couldn't be significant changes, at least not at E grade, but it could be smaller things according to what she'd encountered. The makeup ministry would have done, she thought, as she sat down at the edge of the pond and began clearing her face and hair. The water was cold and pleasant. It was refreshing to finally start feeling cleaner.
The last piece.
She recognized
Now we
the
just have to
voice,
return them to
turning
their
around to see
rightful
Hank
place.
standing a few meters away. Not staring at her, but the two chairs right behind her. Where'd the masked man go? He continued, appearing slightly worried. Where did these chairs come from? Hey, Hank, she said, as she continued washing her hair. I'm not sure where he went. He just said he was heading out for a bit. Anyway, chairs, please. You have these chairs as well?
Ha! We've got him now.
Still kind of hung up on where the hell they came from.
They won't even see us
We were
come.
in the middle of a forest, hundreds of kilometers from anything, as far as he could tell. And the chairs were clearly old and made of strange wood.
Coming.
He summoned them out of thin air, waved his hands, and then a chair appeared in each of them. Are they real? He asked, studying them more in depth. They both knew that some classes and professions had learned to summon things with skills, so she understood the confusion. But they always consisted of mana.
Time to do
Disappeared
our
after
thing.
a short while.
Look.
Yeah, she answered. And said, finally deciding to point for the subject. What happened after I fell asleep? The man walked over, sat a few meters from her, and began also feeding himself. I've seen her do it, made him
Someone really needs to learn how to block better.
He had a full beard that was full of leaves and small pieces of sticks. To mention the blackened blood that had made it all stiff. His arm was back to normal. The blood that had splattered all over his face as it exploded had disappeared. I sat watched as we agreed to come to her. For a while, he called me out on it, and we ended up sitting here and had a pleasant chat. It was very enlightening. Miranda didn't want to disclose the embarrassing circumstances in which it had happened. Useful information, Hank asked, seemingly bewildered that they had ended up having what she described as a pleasant chat. So much. First of all, Miranda began recounting all the useful information she had learned. The things the masked man had known of the system and skills and whatnot. About dungeons, and about what he mentioned his tutorial was like. It is indeed unbelievable. Different universes, these magical spaces you call a dungeon, different tutorials.
Can't call for the Batmobile here.
Having now had time to clean his face problems. Shame I told you alone. I'll have to explain it to the kids later. You don't think I'm joking on
We don't hit rush hour.
She chuckled as the man smiled slightly. Something he hadn't done before. His wife, her best friend, and that hope. Offered easy for years. Question she had expected.
You take me
His
to all the
profession
best
is at a very
places.
high level, of that I am sure, and from his retellings, assuming they were true, he's also done plenty of fighting. I think his race level may be over the 60. Is that even possible? Hank said with wide eyes. Clearly he is strong, but to such an extent. Are you sure you told the truth? Did you say little skill of yours? I did. And he didn't just notice it, he found it enjoyable, as he said it helped him to understand how such a skill works or something. With the comment that it was far too weak to have any effect. And aside, is it safe to even stay here? He is done. What if he decides just to get rid of us upon returning? What you say? Hank seemed somewhat worried as he looked back towards his still sleeping children. I'm not sure. Is anywhere we can safe these days? The forest was hell.
Now it's a party.
Strange. I don't usually like.
Oh, it's too crowded to do this right now.
It's safer to stay here.
Oh, wish these crooks would give me a little alone time.
Forget it. Let's just stay here for now. Be certain returns. Get away. Save this guy. Miranda froze for a bit as she began fiddling with her hands.
Odds neutralized. On to the next target.
Yes. Chapter 59. big blue mushroom. Truly disappointing, Jack thought, as he looked at the now dead Alpha Mantis Cypher, a level 89 beast that was the lord of this biome, reduced to a headless corpse in what couldn't even be called a real fight. If he had to compare it to something, it would be the Den Mother, and not in a favorable way for the Mantis. Despite it being 7 levels higher, the Den Mother had been stronger. More importantly, it had had a much higher level of intelligence and many more skills in its toolbox. Focusing on physical stats, the Mantis likely had the Den Mother beat. Without a doubt, himself too. It was also surprising that there was such a high-level creature down in these caverns. This biodome in itself was a pleasant surprise. With their leader dead, the Mantises were no longer a threat either, but they ever had been. Jake made his way towards the center of this biodome, his sense of the malefic viper telling him that something containing a lot of mana was there. Little was in his way as he ran there, encountering only a few mantises that he quickly cut apart. Soon he found himself before the source of it all, a glowing blue crystal embedded in the ground, surrounded by wild plant life. Using Identify on it, he got nothing. No response at all, a phenomenon he had run into many times before. If he wanted to identify a piece of metal, wood, or crystal, usually it didn't work. He didn't have the required skill to do so, from what he gathered. Similarly, others couldn't use Identify on plants and toxic things. It was why Jake had the skills herbology and toxicology from his profession that allowed him such knowledge. The only outliers he had encountered so far were things in dungeons and special items during the tutorial. Those he had been able to identify without a problem. Now the question was, should and could he take the big shiny crystal with him? He could clearly feel it pumping out vast amounts of pure mana to the surrounding area, and it was likely the source of life from this entire land. It would possibly result in a whole cavern in the sprawling place of life it was now. Of course, all of this was dependent on his ability to even move the crystal to begin with. It was rather large, sticking out of the ground around 3 meters up, with another 3 meters under the ground. It reminded him a bit of the pylon at first, but there were also clear differences. The pylon was clearly a creation of the system, while this in front of him was just a somewhat standard giant mana crystal. Also,
There we are.
He was pretty damn sure
Time
he had
to
run
sleep.
into this kind of crystal before.
Time to
He
do
just
the
couldn't quite remember where. Raising his hand, he placed it upon the crystal. It felt just like a big piece of glass, or a regular crystal. There was nothing incredible about it, except for the mana it so clearly emanated into the biodome. Activating his necklace, he tried to store the crystal, but he felt like there was some kind of resistance. He kept trying for a while, but ended up admitting to himself that moving it wasn't possible. At least not in his storage. His fear of perception revealed the reason. Beneath the ground, hundreds of small vines and roots extended into the crystal. Following them, he could see that they belonged to all the plants around him. It was surprising how long the fungi, or perhaps fungus would be more accurate. Every single one of the giant blue mushrooms was a part of this one plant, one entity that spread beneath the ground. From a mycology standpoint, this was very interesting. Sadly, Jake didn't care that much for mushrooms to begin with. In fact, he had quite the distaste for the damn things. And for these to even dare to be blue, it was an offense he couldn't let slide lightly. And he really wanted to bring the big shining mana crystal with him, if only to figure out exactly what it was and test things with it. So he took out his Omni tool and once more turned it into a shovel. Plunging it into the ground, he hit the roots of the mushrooms and...
What's this?
A loud booming sound echoed through the entire biodome. The ground shook, and Jake was momentarily dumbstruck by what the hell was happening. All he had done was sever a few roots of a damn fungus. It had awakened something. An aura spread throughout the entire biodome, suppressing every living mantis still scouring about, making them freeze up in fear. It was the type of aura Jake had only felt once before, the one that came from the suppression of a higher grade. The ground in front of him exploded. He was pushed away from the crystal, stabilizing himself quickly. The crystal itself rose into the air as countless vines spun around it, shielding it from sight. But it was not only the mushrooms acting up. Everything was. Now every single living plant in the entire dome was giving off the exact same aura. He felt his skill big game hunter hum to life, his strength and agility both being empowered, meaning whatever he now faced was a higher level than him, and not to a negligible degree. Eyes wide open, he used Identify on a random tree-like plant and got a result. Indigo fungus mycorrhiza, level unknown. He had made quite an error. The mantis had never been the lord of this area. The true ruler had been the area itself, and now, finally, he saw it. The mushrooms had invaded every single plant here, made them a part of it. It was all one giant living creature connected through a network of fungi. Now,
That's why you always get a professional.
Hundreds of tendrils flew out of the ground, and the plants moved in concert. But not only towards Jake. He saw the metal-like tubes he had found interesting earlier penetrate the corpse of a dead mantis he had left nearby. Like a needle, it pierced into it, and in mere moments the corpse turned into an empty husk, drained of all nutrients. For a brief moment on his way here, he had wondered why he saw no corpses. Now he understood. Tendrils flew towards him as the entire area shook. The ground right beneath him exploded once more, but he had seen it coming in his sphere long ago. He considered his options as he jumped away from the four spike-like roots that exploded from where he stood only moments ago. What he stood before was an actual D-grade being, above level 100 with unknown abilities. It wasn't like the mantis from before.
This here.
Logically, the best plan would be to
Oh.
he doubted the entire system said he could actually follow him. But he couldn't stop smiling. Finally, he had found something worth fighting. This creature was very different from the king of the forest. The king had been absolutely dominating at every step. The king had possessed intelligence rivaling that of a human, stats far above one. His only weakness had been the tools given by the tutorial and his own arrogance. The indigo fungus, however, he just didn't feel the same pressure. He had gotten stronger, and this thing was weaker than the king. But at the same time, he couldn't underestimate it and end up being fucked like he'd been against the king.
Situation may be resolved.
Jake kept dodging as the vines came for him from all sides. Often, he was forced to avoid being enclosed by vines with shadow hold. He stepped mildly. His sense of the malefic viper also yelled at him at the back of his head. Of course, he thought, as he felt the poison seep into his body. Many of the mushrooms and other plants were poisonous, and now released all their fumes into the air. He heard the shrieks of all the still living mantises from all around the biota, dying slowly. To Jake, on the other hand, it was almost pleasant, and it did give him an idea. When fighting a creature roughly the size of 10 football fields, the first problem, where the hell do you begin your attack? What do you even attack? The second problem, how do you get to whatever weak point it might have? The third problem, how do you outlast such a creature with its likely enormous resources? All of these questions had a single answer. Poison. Because the fungus had one fatal flaw. It was all connected. His grin only growing, Jake cleaved through a few vines with his sword and dagger. The attacks were endless. Spear-like root was attacking him to try and pierce him, but this one he didn't dodge. Instead, he caught it beneath his arm, holding it in a good old Nelson. At the same time, he knelt to avoid a blow as he began channeling touch of the malefic viper. He saw his hands radiate a dark green color, and dark green veins began spreading down the root and into the ground. For the first time, he got a real reaction. He smiled to himself at first, but soon it turned to a frown. He felt his poison quickly being purified by the overwhelming vitality of the fungus. Another sharp tendril also emerged and cut off the root he was currently grasping, effectively halting his attack. In the end, his attack had done little more than anger the fungus. Anger which materialized in the shape of more than 100 roots shooting out of the ground all around him. Before, it clearly hadn't focused on him at all. Its attention split between himself and all the other living creatures still roaming about the biodome. Now, however, he had its sole, undivided attention. He was forced to activate limit break straight up to 20% right away. The attacks were both stronger and more numerous than before. Even while boosted, he failed to dodge all the attacks. Several cuts appeared on his arms and legs. Finding time to counterattack was impossible, and he was forced to admit that he had been too arrogant in his approach. While his analysis of the monster's weakness was entirely accurate, he had forgotten one of the most important things, his own relative strength. Yet, for the next few minutes, he kept trying. And while he did clearly cause some damage here and there, the only thing he achieved was making the fungus more determined in killing the beast that had invaded it. He chucked poison bottles out and hit several mushrooms or plants, making them wither quickly. It was only a drop in the bucket. Finally, it had had enough. Jake felt a massive amount of lifting in the air as it used his skill. He saw hundreds of giant mushrooms wither as light exited them, only to gather mid-air, floating out the planet like a new sun. Before he could grasp its intention, he felt his danger sense explode. His more pre-cognizant senses activated as he quickly covered his entire body in scales, and just in time, as a blue beam hit him right in his midsection. The entire ball of mana had been transformed into a special attack that blew him about hundreds of meters. The beam seared into his body and quickly burned through his armor, leaving only his scales to take the brunt of the attack. Luckily for him, the scales specialized in defending against magical attacks, but that did not mean it could in any way negate it. The scales all chipped and cracked on his chest, while the ones on his back practically shattered the moment he smashed into the cave wall. Coughing up blood, he tried but failed to dislodge himself from the wall before the follow-up attack arrived. 9 needle-like thorns pierced his stomach and chest and began sucking. Fuck, he thought, enraged as he activated Blood of the Malefic Viper. He'd better enjoy it. Something the fungus clearly did not. The thorns began withering right away as the toxic blood entered them. With a swipe of his arm, Jake broke them all off like lightning. Free at last, he dislodged himself from the wall, about to begin towards where he had entered the biome. His health and stamina were both draining fast, as he didn't hold back on using Shadow Ball one step either. At this point, he truly realized that this wasn't a fight he could win, but one he could survive. Running, soon spotted the exit. Roots emerged and cut it off. Simultaneously, a figure rose from the earth just in front of the thorn's newly erected wall. A giant creature made up of roots and mushrooms, clearly strung together from tens or perhaps hundreds of different plants. It didn't look remotely humanoid. The only features it did were its 2 arms. It didn't have a head, and it was like only the construct's upper body emerged. Yet it towered over 10 meters into the air as it formed yet another barrier between him and his escape. Jake didn't hesitate as he took out his bow and an arrow. For the first time since returning to Earth, he had to use his signature skill on full power, the one that had carried him through the tutorial time and time again. Knocking the arrow, he felt the mana and stamina build up as he pulled back the string. The air hummed, and the earth cracked in his wake from the pent-up mana. After only a few seconds, he let it go, and it was the strongest arrow he had ever released. Infused Power Shot. The arrow flew out at supersonic speed and pierced straight through the giant construct. But it didn't stop there, as it also went through the wall of thorns, blasting a hole more than large enough for a human to get through. Before the fungus had a chance to close the hole, he stared down the construct with gaze of the primal hunter, freezing it in place for only a moment. He felt a slight headache from doing so, but it was enough. As the construct was a part of a larger monster, it froze the entire biodome, just long enough for him to take a step forward. A step that took him through the hole and out of the biodome. He didn't stop there, and instead sprinted further away from the cursed place. Roots were extending through the tunnel, trying to chase him down. Luckily, the fungus didn't have any intention, or perhaps ability, to follow him for long. After not even 100 meters, the roots stopped and retracted back to the biodome once more. Jake let himself fall back to the ground as he breathed out in relief. Well, he joked to himself as he took out a health potion to chug down. At the same time, he deactivated Limit Break and felt a sense of weakness wash over him. Once more, he had been shown that D-grades most certainly weren't to be underestimated. But despite losing, he wasn't discouraged at all. Instead, he felt a sense of relief. He had feared that powerful enemies would only be found in the different danger zones, that he wouldn't be able to encounter any real challenges. Yet in only a few hours, he had encountered 2 enemies above his level, one of them even D-grade. It gave him a target to instantly begin working towards, and different plans and hypotheses to take down the giant fungus already began. Hero.
What's happening, everyone? Jay Shock Blast here in the Goblin but it was not intended to be released individually. Here it is. Alright, so earlier there was an in particular Wayne Tech cache that was driving me absolutely insane. It looks like it's in the Botanical Gardens all the way over here, right? The Wayne Tech cache in Gotham Village, Robinson Park. You'll notice there's a bridge that cuts in from nowhere, Central Island, I guess. Alright, and it goes underground. So, let's... This is going to take us there. And it's going to seem way less crazy when we get here.
Incoming crime.
It's just like
Make
right
your way
here.
to Gotham Village. 2 sets of bad guys having a disagreement. Over.
Let's get moving.
Take it a pack.
Let's go get him, Batman.
This is so fucking.
For now, however, he would have to recuperate. Recuperate and return to his little camp to continue his practice in alchemy. And this time, he had something to work directly towards. If fighting the fungus with his current means wasn't enough, if his current poisons weren't toxic enough, he would just have to make something better. A special cocktail for the dear fungus, if you will. He was already smiling to himself as he entered meditation, envisioning his next encounter with the thing. Chapter 60. Delegating or avoiding responsibilities. Jake was more injured than he had first thought. Then again, he'd had quite a few giant needles pierce into his chest and attempt to suck it dry of any and all vitality. Nevertheless, it wasn't something a healing potion or two couldn't fix. He quite honestly felt bad for all those out there without the ability to get themselves healed. If he'd had to rely on his natural regeneration, it would have taken days to heal the last bout's damage. To restore his entire 10,000 plus health pool would require more than a week. Maybe more, as health regeneration slowed when health was lower. His armor was also pretty damn broken. His chest was exposed entirely, as the mana beam had burned his chest piece to tatters. Luckily, the self-repair enchant made the armor virtually unbreakable unless utterly obliterated, and even then, it might not even disappear if it was completely destroyed, as it was bound to it. The problem was that it would take some time for it to repair itself, so he would have to go shirtless once more for a while. Oddly nostalgic, in a sense, as he remembered his many shirtless days. Getting up, he began making his way out of the cave and back to his small base camp once more. He had only been gone for several hours, but it had been more than worthwhile. He discovered a D-grade entity, got some experience, and picked up many different mushrooms and mosses to play with. Miranda and those 3 others should also have left by now, he thought. Their parting had been less than ideal, but sometimes that is how life is. She was a good conversation partner, but they clearly had different goals when it came to this new reality of theirs. He had also determined to not just aim to survive, but strive for greater power. He wouldn't fault others for merely wanting to survive, as he genuinely understood where they were coming from. Before the system, he hadn't had any real ambitions, but had just been happy with what he had. His only real motivation to improve had been external. To make his parents proud, gain social status, and earn enough money for a comfortable life. Now, that had changed. His motivation was entirely internal. He wanted to grow stronger, not for anyone else, but himself. It was, without a doubt, selfish, but he honestly didn't care.
There's more to this
One of the
place than
perks
at
of
first
power
glance.
is that others' opinions stopped holding power over you. Only through power could he attain total freedom. But he knew he had a very long way to go. Even an overgrown mushroom would beat the crap out of him. But as long as he stayed true to his path, he firmly believed that he would one day reach the pinnacle, or at least die doing something he loved, no matter how cliché that sounded. As he thought, the exit of the cave finally came into sight. The bright light was now replaced with the orange glow of the evening sun. He wasn't in a hurry as he walked back, still a bit sore, likely due to the after effects of limit break. The trek was short, but as he got closer, he was surprised to hear voices. Going low, he used advanced stealth and snuck closer to his camp. Peeking out from behind a tree, he saw Miranda and Hank, together with the two teenagers, sitting at the pond. He thought they would leave. Miranda had been quite distraught when he left, but that wasn't the real issue. Jake had walked off with the thought that their parting would be final. Now, he wasn't quite sure what exactly to do. Would it be awkward to just stroll back to the pond, intruding on the four of them? Fuck, this is my pond, and the pylon is buried right there. So the evil wuss would get in there. He's trying to hype himself up.
I'm not your garden
He was a
variety.
goddamn progenitor of this universe. A kingslayer. Prodigy, and all that chisel. There's no way he would let social anxiety beat him like this. So he only waited around possibly for 10 more minutes before realizing they clearly weren't going to leave the pond anytime soon.
Rest until the
He
city's
quickly remembered his ultimate weapon. The mask that hid his face. Stealing his will, he entered the fray, trying to look as confident as ever. Walking out from behind the tree, he moved casually towards the pond, not trying to hide whatsoever. He instantly drew the attention of all four of them. Their reactions differed wildly. The young man, looked slightly frightened, while Miranda was a bit concerned. Hank frowned, and Louise's face turned bright red. First to speak was Miranda. Jake, a bit taken by surprise by the question, asked, "What do you mean?"
Nightwing, look out.
Hey, Jake remembered how he felt. Armor, dry saw, covered his hair.
Nobody's
Stopping
stopping
still
us.
feeling
Not
scars where
today.
the needle-like thorns had pierced his chest and stomach. In other words, it looked like he had just walked out and down. Nothing of importance, and don't worry, I'll come here. Jake mentally added, "Let's help the kid." Yeah. Is it your fault? The concerned look was not directed at the potential danger, but his own wounds. Something he hadn't expected. No worries, nothing a healing potion or two couldn't fix, he answered with a smile. Not that they could see it through the mask, though. She said, relieved. Jake, at the same time, kept an eye on the three others. While one of them was a threat, he didn't exactly know them at all. He hadn't even spoken a word to them before, with Miranda taking charge of their group. He didn't think you would stay, he said, breaking silence. Captain? She asked, clearly a bit afraid. Jake also saw Hank and the young man tense up. The young teenage girl was still staring at him weirdly for some
Head
reason.
for the east end.
Nothing stopping
Appears to
me.
be,
My requirements from before still stand. I want peace and quiet for my alchemy. The forest technically belongs to him due to the law. It wasn't like he planned on forcing anyone who entered out of it. Goodness. She smiled, relieved. He honestly wouldn't know where to go. For some reason, no beasts want to enter this area, so it is the safest area we have seen so far. Yeah, they're about that, Jake said, getting an idea. Can I speak with you privately? Miranda looked a bit surprised at the request, but accepted it. Hank also appeared totally okay with leading his two children away. Mark happily followed, but Louise still kept staring at him with a red face and weird expression. Hank eventually just yanked her by her collar as the three left, leaving Jake alone with Miranda. Chairs are still here, he noted, indicating for them to sit, which they did. This time, Jake took the initiative, making his mask invisible to reveal his face. He felt a bit proud of himself for remembering that, a sense of pride that was crushed by Miranda's next words. How come you were half naked, by the way? Did that armor break completely? Fuck me, he said accidentally out loud, quickly trying to explain himself while admonishing himself for forgetting his current state again within 5 minutes. No, it's in my spatial storage while it's repairing itself. As he said that, he took out one of the many shirts he had swiped from the challenge dungeon. They were shitty quality and far less comfortable than his armor, but at least they covered him up a bit. Spatial storage? She questioned, hiding a smile as he put on the shirt. It's something an item of mine can do. I can store items within it. Mine even has the function of keeping all kinds of alchemical ingredients frozen in time to keep them fresh. He didn't see any point in hiding its functions with the plan he had formed.
Somewhere.
Interesting, she said. But can you tell me what exactly you thought that caused your armor to require such repair? There is a cave nearby that leads deep underground, wherein I discovered a huge biodome of sorts, he thought to explain. Therein I encountered a D-grade entity and was forced to retreat. D-grade? Aren't those about level 1? She asked, shocked. Yeah, at least. Each grade is quite a qualitative upgrade, too, meaning the difference between level 99 and 100 is huge. I'm sure you remember the difference between 24 and 25, so think of it like that, but much more extreme. That is, like, something. To face such a thing. I can't even imagine fighting something like that tiger. Miranda sighed powerlessly. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. What is your goal in this new world? A goal? She asked, a bit confused at first, but soon she began thinking. To survive, I guess. How do you plan on surviving? He pressured her. I know what you were getting at, but I am not a fighter. I can't face down beasts and monsters every day like you and Hank. He seemed a bit ashamed at her own perceived weakness. It isn't like fighting is the only way to survive, she said. And in either case, you do need help. So I asked again, how do you plan on surviving? She sat silently for a moment until she resolutely looked him in the eye. I'm hoping someone can help you protect me. For that to happen, you have to offer something that makes it worth the hassle. And even then, it's a fragile thing if you don't even have a modicum of strength yourself. Jake was pleasantly surprised by her honesty. It made this entire conversation easier. You asked me earlier why no monsters enter this area. It is because of what lies buried in the earth right below our feet. A thing called the Pylon of Civilization. As the name suggests, it is an item made for founding a civilization, or in this case, a city. Miranda just sat there, listening, while peeking down at the ground. I have no desire at all to make a city, much less rule one. But at the same time, it would be a waste not to use the pylon properly. So my proposition is this. Become the city lord of this pylon and found a city here. I will stay as the on-paper ruler while you pretty much do everything. What would I... she began saying, before she got interrupted by something Jake couldn't see. He smirked to himself as his prediction proved true. Principal city lord, she asked him. I had my suspicions that the system wanted someone to take it. So, do you want the job? Jake smiled. He could vaguely feel the system offering it. City lord of this pylon and found a city here. We'll stay as the on-paper ruler while you pretty much do everything. She began saying, before she got interrupted by something Jake couldn't see. He smirked to himself as his prediction proved true. Principal city lord, she asked him. I had my suspicions that the system wanted someone to take it. So, do you want the job? Jake smiled. He could vaguely feel the system offering him, and his own ability to stop it from doing so. It says I need to have a recent title of lord to get the profession. She said. Jake barely managed to follow.
Looks like something's happening in the East End. Suspect attempting to enter somewhere using non-traditional means. Over.
That as an earl, you can only appoint 5 lords, 0 of 5 used, 3 barons, 0 of 3 used, 0 of 1 used. He was a bit surprised at the message about not overly much. The only truly surprising thing was the number of titles he could grant. Not that he was complaining. I can give you a title. But before I do that, we need to come to an agreement. Jake summoned a pen and paper from his spatial storage. Contract, she asked, smiling as she looked at the paper. And so, really not a thing to do, signing a contract. Easier to remember if we write it and agree on the terms. Besides, I have a feeling this method is more comfortable for the both of us. While Jake hadn't written any legal contracts before, he had signed and read plenty. This was a legal contract. No laws really bound them but their own words. But then again, perhaps words and promises themselves held power beyond human understanding in this new reality of theirs. Yeah, good, she said. I can see the profession's description, and so it was comprehensive. The stat counts per level alone is shocking. It's more than pretty much all other classes of professions I have encountered so far. She was clearly probing at Jake as to why he was willing just to give it away. Also, exactly what you expected me. After that, the two of them spent the better half of an hour discussing the contract. To sum it all up, Jake promised not to be burdened by the responsibilities and downsides of being a city lord, but at the same time still wanted the benefits of a high-level noble who was technically in charge of the city. Miranda wanted safety, and a promise to have his backing if she was supposed to run a city. She would also get a powerful profession and a lot of organizational power, and she would effectively be in charge of everything. Jake did stipulate a veto, though, and that he was at the top.
Big challenge ahead of
While it all might seem a bit overboard for a city that currently only had 5 people in total, both of them knew it wouldn't stay like that. Billions had survived the tutorials, and it was only a matter of time before more found their way here. The fact that this place was a safe haven due to the pylon would undoubtedly make it a beacon of sorts. Not many would come due to its isolated location, but some would. Miranda had to confess that the prospect of running an entire city did appeal to her. While she didn't have much confidence in fighting monsters, she did have faith in her ability to handle politics and management. So in the end, they agreed on a 4-page contract, which they both signed to no great fanfare. Both knew it was a contract based only on trust, but then again, in many ways, so were pre-system contracts. With that, she was granted the title of Viscount. Jake explained that while she only needed to be a lord, he had already decided to make her his partner in this endeavor. He also added that he didn't really have anyone else to give it to anyway, and would probably just make things easier down the line. If that was just said to make her feel better or show his sincerity, she didn't know. Accepting the profession, Miranda was momentarily overwhelmed as the knowledge entered her mind. Knowledge she could never comprehend. At the same time, Jake felt the shift in the mana in the air. Not only could he find wisps of his own mana within it now, but hers too. They said their farewells as Jake stayed to do his alchemy, and Miranda returned to Hank and the others. Maybe, just maybe, she could carve out her own little space in this world. Chapter 61. Construction plans. Jake felt like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders as he saw Miranda leave. Keeping up his professional persona did take some effort, but he was happy that it wasn't that bad to interact with Miranda. For the last 2 weeks, the lost potential of the pilot had been bothering him more than it probably should. Jake knew the offered profession was powerful, and he was curious to see what it would give. And as he didn't have any desire to pick it up himself, it was just lying there. Which is when he got the idea to offer the job at random. As he talked, he had stretched a small strand of mana down to touch the pylon, allowing him to offer the profession. When he asked if she wanted it, the system read his intentions. It was a bit of a gamble, but his guts told him it would work. He was a bit afraid of the prospects of a city where he was essentially the highest authority. And just a small settlement was scary. On that subject, Miranda had offered that he could just keep up his mysterious masked protector persona. She seemed more than happy enough to just do everything, with the enigmatic figures standing behind her. She was clearly reaching for a type of power far more structural than Jake, to make herself indispensable to the city and tie her own fate with the success of this settlement. It wasn't the same as he would do, but he could acknowledge her path having some potential. Besides, If she get picked well, she would likely get many levels, and thus stats, making her powerful even in direct combat. He also predicted that the profession would include several ways for the City Lord to protect him or herself. At least the description hinted heavily at that. But all that was for another time. They had agreed on a meeting at next sundown, where they would go over the profession and some more plans for what to do if the whole event before people arrived. For now, his focus would return to Malcolm. He had encountered an enemy foe that he had to admit his foe could do little to nothing against. His entire body covered a few square kilometers, and while it certainly had weak points, doubted it would die without at least the majority of its body being destroyed. He was even beginning to suspect that the mana crystal he found at the start was its way of luring its prey. The indigo mushroom was clearly a unique monster that was the area where it had grown. But if the crystal could attract powerful beasts, or even humans like himself, it would surely get plenty of prey to feast on.
We've got a robbery happening in the area.
Its attack pattern had been relatively simple for the majority of the fight, but at the end, it had shown a modicum of tactical prowess, and it distracted and limited his movements with roots, only to blast him with the beam of mana. The quick follow-up with the needles was also clearly a part of the three-step attack. He did discover the effectiveness of his toxins, too. Both his blood and touch of the malefic viper killed the roots and plants nearly instantly. They decayed in seconds, and while that was worth forgetting that needles off them at the last moment, it wasn't handy if he aimed to kill the dang thing. If it rotted too quickly, the poison wouldn't have as much time to spread. It also made it far more comfortable for the thing to cut off any infected part of it. In the last few weeks, he had been mainly focused on making potions. More accurately, on brewing common rarity versions of all three resource potions. Now it was time to shift his focus back to what his profession was really about. Poisons. He wanted to design a poison directly aimed at the damned mushroom. He needed it to be powerful, but slow. No matter what, the fight would be a marathon, and not a sprint. Necrotic poisons were out instantly. That type worked best against flesh and blood targets, and the same was true for any kind of human toxin, as mushrooms tended not to have blood. AKA, his two most used types of poison were ineffective. With that being the case, he would need something new. Something designed for killing fighters. A super weed killer, if you will. Luckily for him, he had never been much of the garden, so he didn't really know what kind of toxin was good against mushrooms. On the other hand, did it even matter? This thing was clearly not an ordinary mushroom. So he did what he always did when in doubt. He pushed his mind into his spatial necklace and summoned the bookshelves he had hidden within. A small library appeared around him as he began going through them one by one. While he had read a bit about plant-focused toxins and the more general books on poison, he had never really delved into them.
You think you can contain the uncanny condiment king?
It didn't take him long to discover a few books that might be interesting. Gardening for Novices, Weeds and How to Kill Them, followed by Basic Mycology, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. It was an entire series. None of them was directly related to concocting a poison. They would make him better understand what he was facing. Of course, these were far from the only ones he had picked to go through, but these were the ones that appeared most obviously helpful.
Well, you found me in
a conversation with the Viper, he learned that none of them were considered high-level, despite the plethora of books available. But they did cover a lot of useful knowledge from F to B grade, and would help push him further for an additional 100 levels easily. He summoned the bed that he hadn't used in quite a while, then sat on it with his legs crossed. It reminded him of being back in the challenge dungeon once more. Only this time he didn't aim to cure himself of a deadly poison. This time, he would be the one making it. Reading the books should have gone fast with his increased stats, but the book's writing was clearly designed for those with stats. He didn't know if it was because of his utterly overpowered translation skill, but the text didn't really fit on the pages. It was likely written in a script that took up far less space than English or any other human language, which in essence meant that each page held several times more content than others.
This might not be
itself
hidden
was also so
treasure, but it'll
impossibly
do.
thin that each book had far more pages than reasonable for one its size. Human standards, that is. Before he knew it, he was interrupted as a person entered his sphere of perception. She didn't approach any closer as he finished up the page he was currently on. I'm sure flies by, he said as he looked up ahead. It was amazing how he wasn't tired, despite immersing himself in books for nearly 24 hours. Was this the dividends from investing so much in his perception? He looked like he'd been missing his books. Exactly how big is this spatial storage of yours? Miranda stared at the dozens of large bookcases standing on the ground. It honestly looked like so. 2 chairs, a bed, a bunch of bookcases standing out in the wild like that. It was the saddest library for homeless people ever seen. Big enough, he answered, fully recognizing how silly it looked. So, how is it to be the new principal city lord? There's quite a lot to go over, actually. I've gotten a few skills that grant me access to certain systems. For example, I can see how many people are within the domain of the pylon. This is actually one of the things I wanted to ask about. I can't see you with the skill. I have a good guess why you can't. It is likely the same thing that also makes you identify on me harder, he explained, eyeing his shroud of the primordial skill. His way to be on the line, he didn't doubt its effectiveness in hiding it. Then, she said, as the skills are done, having the construction of the city. It increases the amount of experience earned for citizens when they do things that aren't related to combat. Then, they go wrong. Oh, I know about that last one. It was actually already there. The skill is not a skill, which is quite good, because it means it's help you operate. So talk to Frank about beginning to actually make things. It's really the much we decided to stay. As this looks to be our long-term home, we discussed constructing some houses. I looked for the building profession. Actually worked in construction before the system. So it's not too long. Sounds good to me. So the first thing is, we want to defend the pylon, correct? Not just from potential enemies, but its existence and its location hidden for as long as possible, correct? He nodded once more, as they'd already agreed on this yesterday. Where it is currently is fine, and you clearly like this place. For good reason, she added, looking out at the pond and the waterfall. I thought that maybe we could build a house right here on top of where you hid it. Wouldn't that be obvious? And is finding it not quite easy, considering the aura it gives off and the fact that it is so clearly located at the center of the city? It was a bit skeptical. He had considered maybe building some kind of vault or something to hide the thing in. Well, as I would be the official leader to the public eye, I think most would expect me to
Get another completed heist by
on top of that, who would dare to snoop around the strongest person's personal abode in the city on the mere suspicion that a pylon might be here? Of course, this is dependent on you remaining the strongest, but for some reason I don't think that would prove an issue for you. She gave a cheeky wink. Still doesn't solve the issue of it being pretty damn clear where it is if you have a skill or in practice sensing matter, he replied, still skeptical.
This is dispatch.
Skills allows me
Like an emergency in East End.
Facts.
Several officers are in need of assistance.
Circle, restricted to small. Simply by getting a confession, the area of effect is already gone.
That takes care of that.
I gotta say, you handled yourself pretty well just now.
You don't afraid of anyone's sense of the panic. I have a mana sensing skill, and I couldn't sense its location before becoming a city lord. And the knowledge I got when I became a city lord also made it clear that it is impossible to detect with any ordinary means. That is good to know. He nodded, one fear expelled from his mind. What are your thoughts on expanding the area? And if a city or just a small town is to be built, where will it be? I talked over this with Hank, and I think we would keep the valley clear of any buildings. Make it a restricted area. That way, you can get your desired peace, and you can protect the pylon more easily. Your role, as we talked about earlier, is to be the mysterious protector within. If luck has it, many will likely even think you are the source of beasts staying away, and not the pylon. Painting me out to be some type of monster, aren't you? He joked. A little, she chuckled, returning a smile. Isn't that good? Who wants to mess with a monster? I guess that is fine. So, what is your first plan of action? Jake asked, changing the subject away from his own supposed monstrosity. Build you a house, she answered promptly. Look around you, for God's sake. You just have furniture standing on the bare ground right next to a pond. If anyone needs a house, it's you. Of course, that will also have the practical implication of hiding the pylon, as discussed. Jake tried to argue back a few times, but was shot down promptly on every turn.
This is dispatch.
Miranda had come
Looks like
determined
an
to make the
emergency in
first
East
structure
End.
his house,
Two
whether he liked
citizens
it
are
or not.
engaged in a struggle
And
over some
Jake had to
valuables.
admit that maybe it was a bit too silly having even bookcases standing on
There
a
we
new
are.
fist. In the end, they agreed with a huge smile.
I spy with my little eye something interesting.
Okay, but they still needed to plan out what exactly to make. And as Hank would be the one actually making it, he kind of needed to be present for that stage. Who came back wasn't only Hank, however, but the two kids also following behind him. Jake had at least covered himself with a simple shirt at this time, and the instant he sensed them coming, he also hid his face once more by making a mask reappear. They had decided that he would keep up his mysterious persona even towards Hank and the two kids. Because while Miranda trusted Hank, she didn't trust Hank not to tell his kids. And from what he heard, Reeves was a real tattle. While they had seen his face once, it shouldn't lead to any issues in the future. And Miranda would likely convince him that it was just an illusion or something if it came down to it. Sadly, he only had 2 chairs, so they ended up all just standing as they met in front of the pond in solidarity. Hank was the first to speak. "This is where we're going to live," he asked, looking at the bookcases, chairs, and bed. "It is a bit close to the water, but it is more than doable." And that's Jake liked that. He didn't even have to say anything, with Hank already surrounding the area. He preferred the two, Hank asked. He added, "I would advise you that as I have a profession specialized in making wood construction, and wood is abundant being in the forest and all. But if you want, we can dig up some clay and make bricks, but it will take far longer." "Wood is fine as long as it can stand high heat," he answered, thinking of his alchemy. It would suck to burn down his new home first thing. "Shouldn't be a problem. I got an enchantment to help with that." He nodded. "I plan on doing a simple one-plane wooden lodge. 2 entrances, one at the front, one at the back leading directly out to the pond, while adding a small terrace of sorts. Please?" The girl, who Jacob noticed still staring at him weirdly, quickly took out a stack of papers from who was where and summoned a small pen, most likely conjured
Looks
through
like
some skill.
Ratcatcher's trying to move in on my
It's
store.
an artist's profession, one related to drawing and painting, Miranda explained, as the young girl began drawing something on the paper. Hank was standing behind her, gesturing and giving pointers here and there. The young man, Mark, just stood awkwardly at the back. Having clearly followed along, he didn't want to be left alone. Everyone else went to the valley. After 10 minutes or so, the father and daughter pair had a sketch ready, one Jake just approved without looking at it much. He had never really been picky about where he lived, and his current stance was that anything was better than nothing. Putting on a second floor if needed in the future is also possible. A cellar, I guess. Jake quickly said, dismissing it. That would just reveal the damn pylon right away. Though, on second thought, actually, yeah, make a cellar. The big mistake. Hank was a bit confused by the quick maybe, and just shrugged. After a bit longer, his kids left to collect some wood and further refine the plan. Jake and Miranda were the only ones left in the valley. "A cellar?" she asked, confused. "Yeah, not directly below the house. I got a plan." They smiled as he explained his genius plan. Chapter 62. First World Problems. Jake sat cursing to himself near the cave entrance he had exited just a bit over a day ago. He wasn't here for a rematch with the Indigo Mushroom, but instead just to do his alchemy. The reason for his sour mood was because he, in his stupidity, had forgotten the book he was right in the middle of reading back at the pond. Could he go back and get it? Here, yes. Hell no. They had already begun constructing his new house, and Miranda, together with Louise, seemed very adamant about him staying away until it was done, something that should take less than a week. While they hadn't explicitly stated he couldn't go there, he very much got that feeling from them. He had helped a bit by leaving behind a few dozen potions of all 3 kinds. They were some of the mid-tier iterations he'd made in his 2 weeks of mass production, but they were still a peak inferior or common. He had explained to Miranda about his plan of making a cellar. They had decided to simply build around the pillar while making a cellar. This made the basement a square with a hole in the middle holding the pylon, which merely looked like the supporting beam to the entire house. It wasn't strictly necessary due to the builder profession's skills and the far improved raw materials compared to pre-system construction. But aesthetically, it would look relatively normal. The reason why he wanted to do it like that was relatively simple. He wanted to make that cellar into his secret alchemy lab to truly keep anyone out, which meant that he would make it a place where no one could legally enter. He had learned from both Duskleaf and the Viper that alchemists of the Malefic Viper often designed their labs with affinities in mind. They often flooded a room with a certain kind of poison gas, creating a field of deadly miasma where anyone without strong poison resistance would quickly find themselves poisoned and dying. If he could do that in the cellar, it would function as an improved lab and, at the same time, keep anyone too nosy out. Quite a win-win, if he said so himself. And from how Hank had spoken during their final stages of planning, the man seemed like he knew how to do his job. The fact that he had been working in construction before the system would show it. It was a big surprise that the quiet kid had followed in his father's footsteps and chosen the builder profession. In retrospect, this was quite a nice thing, as it could speed up the construction by quite a bit. He served as the architect, and after that, there was apparently still messing around with her new skills. She had been above level 40 before her profession changed, but surprisingly hadn't lost a single skill. She had only gained new ones. A part of Jake couldn't help but wonder if this was somehow being metagamed by switching between professions, but then again, it more likely just had something to do with the City Lord profession being unique. He was sure that he would have lost any skills related to the Malefic Viper if it changed. And speaking of skills associated with the Malefic Viper, he felt level 70 creep closer than ever before. So with nothing else to do, he began making the final push. As his book was left behind, he just began experimenting instead. He already had gotten a few ideas, so he started by testing those. He still had many ingredients from the challenge dungeon left, but he reckoned some of those had to be useful. A few hours later, he got his level. The profession, the biggest alchemist of the Malefic Viper, level 7, standable talented, 5 free points. And the expected message. This alchemist of the Malefic Viper profession skills available. Last time he got a skill at level 16, he got small skills, the sagacity of the Malefic Viper being standard. But this time, some kind of
New stuff just in.
By the way, the skills related to these no, she with an extra. He's the Malefic Viper. Prescribed means to devour the scalpels.
Will we crown a winner tonight? Will they fail?
Take flight. When I did, convert the beings and release filters for toxin. The toxicity and effectively studies of the this ability to release and speed are based primarily on agility, but receive filters from all physical stats. Use count as part of your body for all relevant skills. Massively provides 100 per level. It is alchemist for the Malefic Viper. The side of your wings the harbinger of death. Fang of the Malefic Viper. Each the upper and the weapons to fight with, and available its fangs. Its bites are the delivery of death. To you, to take an inspiration. The same concept.
Let's get going.
The
girl doesn't have all day now.
Deadly venom, sharing all the same effects as blood of the Malefic Viper in state. Additionally, the improvements that are created are significantly more effective when injected directly into the
Crime in progress in the East End.
provides more strength per level.
That guy's hiding. Oh, why? Let me check it out. Over.
Pride of the Malefic Viper ancient. The arrogance and strong of the Malefic Viper is known throughout the multiverse. Now he learns to take after him. Right now, this is to force their significantly increases the effect of all words of power skill. This is only resistance to let them bring effects. They dissipate. It's not that it's the Malefic Viper. something. Each one is powerful. Since all
Time to fight.
Is this all they think that'll take to defeat us?
significant weaknesses currently. And the fire is still pushing in the direction. He's so impressive. It even earned the blood from Jake's blood of the Malefic Viper once more proving the synergy between all the seals. He's been carrying out effectively against gas Jake actually killed seriously out for several instances. Stacks. Outside of perception, agility was a stat Jake desired. So, perception was damaged quite a lot. It didn't have much of that outside inducing his skills. As far as he could tell. It allowed Jake to control faster.
Careful, Catwoman. These guys didn't come to play.
Too bad. Playtime's my specialty.
Instantly get him 70 hits. Factoring in his pilot bonuses, all the skills and stats. Stat Jake felt like he would never have enough strength. And the Malefic Viper skill was clearly just directly combat related. It didn't even appear to have a single application.
The address is... Sorry. Force about it.
This is dispatch. Looks like an emergency in the East End. Looks like a thief trying to take something that isn't theirs. Over.
So again, it's happy that the environment's upgraded with Jim Rare. It's a great for many other skills in the end. And these options without thinking back, any of them make it succeed despite the skill upgraded there. Sagacity might have been so randomly requisite. Focusing back on the Fang, however, it was mostly much the same. It was relatively simple. His arrows. So he killed relatively straightforward.
Attention all officers. Looks like something's happening in the East End. Messy suspects intent on not cleaning up after themselves. Over.
Hey, save some for me.
He didn't get any of those. But he just thinks stuff and then it happens.
Oh, you really did it! I'm defo impresso!
It's some kind of really effective
skill. All right. Now that plants are gone, looks good, right? Water under the bridge, buried the hatchet, that kite has sailed.
Enemy was stats in it's also easily understood. Jake had to say that the stabbings is most useless by far. Aside from the passive effects of improving mental defenses and increasing mana regeneration, he didn't notice it at all. Even the mana regeneration bar barely mattered, and he jumped down mana potions like a teenager consumed energy drinks during a 24-hour gaming session. The mental defenses were passive, he had also unnoticeable. He had already had explained that willpower didn't help with mental things that weren't affected by skills, so it wasn't like he could overcome his social anxiety by dumping more stats into him. If that worked, he wouldn't find company to anyone besides Miranda as complicated as he did. It was pretty safe to say that he wouldn't go with pride. He knew that he would pick up all 3 skills, the next one at 80 and the final at 90. If he also managed to get his sense and touch of the Malefic Viper, the ancient remedy, and his theory proved true, he would have completed the set. For now, however, he needed to make a choice. He liked pretty much all of them. The last one the least, of course. Now he just needed to decide. After sitting for a while, unable to decide on anything, he took out a piece of paper and wrote down each skill's pros and cons. Wings of the Malefic Viper. Pros. Freaking wings. Gives agility. Best. Good in combat. Area of effect attack. Cons. Lots of unknowns as to the strength of the wings. In celebration, I bestow upon thee this noble token of my awesome. Just in time. Technically make an version of the It's not be a fun. I don't want to bite people. Relatively simple skill. Pride of the Malefic Viper. Pros. Increases mental defense. Other great things. Cons. Not understanding half of what it does. Needs to avoid despair. Obvious. Usual first stab. Limited to no use in combat when fighting enemies not using mind-affecting skills. Also, no flight. Alright, he thought. Try this out, I just don't know enough about it. So the decision was between Fang and Wings. His intuition was annoyingly silent. He nearly wanted to just sit down, grind another 10 levels in alchemy, and pick both of them at once, but knew that wasn't possible. He even considered just flipping a coin for a moment. It was stupid, but he just couldn't decide.